A large yellow chicken ran onto the Junior MasterChef competition stage, carrying a basket. The eggs inside the basket were the theme of today's first competition. The 10 young chefs took turns coming up to the stage, randomly picking an egg from the basket and smashing it on the chicken's head. If the inside of the egg was blue or red, the respective chef would participate in the next round. There were 4 such eggs, 2 of each color. The chefs who picked the same color were automatically paired into teams. In the thrilling egg-smashing segment, Zach and Camille ended up on the red team, while Kaya and Amaya formed the blue team. They are about to challenge the task of making the rich and delicious deviled eggs. They need to make as many qualified deviled eggs as possible within 12 minutes. The 2 junior chefs who win will skip the next elimination round and advance directly. However, the competition won't be easy, as there is another team joining today. They are the yellow team, formed by Ramsey and Graham Elliott. If yellow team wins, the other 4 junior chefs will all have to participate in the following elimination round. However, for fairness, the yellow team will have only half the preparation time. The junior chefs are ready. Let's join them in tonight's Deviled Egg Challenge. Deviled eggs might look simple, but the preparation steps are quite complex. First, the cooked eggs must be peeled and split. Then, the yolks are separated, mixed with cream, and mashed into a paste. This yolk paste is then placed into a piping bag and refilled into the egg whites. Finally, a sprinkle of chili powder and chopped chives completes the dish. This is a challenge to the junior chef's strength and piping skills. As the 2 teams of junior chefs were separating the yolks, the yellow team joined the competition. This pressure disrupted the rhythm of the red and blue teams. The blue team's yolks were too dry to pipe properly, and the red team, although their yolks were smooth, piped them unevenly. Meanwhile, the yellow team was also at the yolk piping stage. However, Ramsey was playing it easy, and he and Graham Elliott were having fun sabotaging each other. When the competition time ended, Christina Tosi counted the number of qualified dishes each team completed: 3, 6, and 10. The yellow team, formed by the 2 chefs, finished with the least, while our red team made 10 qualified dishes. Congratulations to Zach and Camille for winning this competition. They will advance directly to the top 8. The other 8 junior chefs will compete for their dreams. Today is a special day. Graham Elliott's first cookbook, a culmination of a great chef's lifelong dedication and passion, has been completed. Our junior chefs also came here with their dreams, each having their own perfect cookbook. Today's competition is an excellent opportunity to showcase these recipes. The 8 junior chefs have 60 minutes to cook a unique signature dish. After this match, the 2 performers who fare the worst will leave the stage. The chefs are ready. Let's step into tonight's Creative Signature Dish competition. A creative signature dish, as the name suggests, should be full of creativity and exceptionally delicious. It sounds very easy because there are no restrictions on the ingredients. Camille can freely express herself, but to make this dish stand out, she must carefully select and combine the ingredients. Avery's signature dish today is crawfish étouffée. She grew up by the river, where crawfish were plentiful. Her father would take her fishing for them daily. Thus, this dish became a staple at home. Additionally, she is well versed in various Southern American cuisines. Today, Caitlin is making a unique version of Black Forest cupcakes. Typically, Black Forest cakes contain cherries, but she has opted for raspberries instead. The frosting is just plain vanilla buttercream without any liquor, making it sound like a regular Black Forest cake with nothing special. In such a competitive setting, her choice of a seemingly uninspired dessert implies that Caitlin is either not serious or has lost her mind. Amaya is currently crushing plantain to make a dough, which she will then fry. Her main dish is a Dominican shrimp chowder. Cooking the chowder requires careful attention to the heat. Overcooking the shrimp can result in a loss of their sweet flavor, and the seasoning must be neither too bland nor too salty, but just right. Tonight, Kaya is preparing orange duck stew with a fresh orange and fennel salad and candied sweet potatoes. The candied sweet potatoes are similar to sugared sweet potatoes, except the sugar is caramelized to a sandy texture before coating the potatoes. The duck is marinated before cooking to enhance its flavor. This dish sounds very creative, and Kaya's mind is filled with various imaginative recipes. Addison's signature dish is an apple passion fruit Danish pastry. Essentially, this is a multi-layered bread, similar to the puff pastry we often eat, but more refined. The finished pastry is flaky, crisp, and has a rich texture. The highlight of Addison's dessert is the combination of apple and passion fruit, but ultimately, it's still a challenging, yet not particularly innovative fruit-layered pastry. Corey's signature dish is Jamaican grilled chicken, a specialty from Ramsay's cookbook. However, Ramsay uses a smoking method, whereas Corey prepares Caribbean-style grilled chicken. He uses his homemade tafari sauce, a mix of tomatoes and Havana peppers, evenly spread over the chicken legs before baking them in the oven for 35 minutes. This dish is indeed unique, but it's crucial to monitor the oven temperature. Time's up. 8 enticing signature dishes are now presented before the judges. Which 6 junior chefs will advance to the next round based on their signature dishes? The first is Avery's crawfish étouffée. It looks delicious and rich, typical of river area stews. The sauce bursts with flavor in your mouth, tightly enveloping each grain of rice. The generous amount of sweet-tasting crawfish is memorable, and the hint of cayenne pepper adds a spicy richness to the dish. Avery's dishes are distinctive and bold, which is her style. The second dish is Kaya's orange duck stew served with a fresh orange and fennel salad and candied sweet potatoes. This is an authentic French cuisine. The duck is crisp on the outside and tender inside, perfectly cooked to medium rare. The candied sweet potatoes are crunchy on the outside and juicy inside. The only improvement needed is the fennel, which is too thickly cut, making it somewhat raw and crunchy to chew. Aside from that, every detail of this dish is near perfect and highly creative. The third dish is Caitlin's unique Black Forest sheet cake. Ramsay doesn't like this dessert because it fails to showcase Caitlin's cooking characteristics. The texture of the cake is fairly light, and the chocolate is rich and intense. However, there's too much butter, making it overly greasy. Caitlin really shouldn't have chosen to make a dessert as it's too ordinary. Next, Amaya presents a Dominican shrimp chowder with plantain cakes. She starts by adding Jamaican seasoning to the seafood broth, then rice, and adds the shrimp when the rice is nearly done. This dish is stunning in both appearance and taste, and even a professional chef might not be able to cook the shrimp as perfectly. The fifth dish is JJ's Italian tagliatelle with cream sauce and roasted chicken. The pasta is tasty and well seasoned. However, the dish lacks creativity and has no highlights. It might pass for a simple pasta restaurant, but it's far from a creative signature dish. Next, Sam serves bacon-wrapped chicken rolls with couscous and artichokes. The artichokes are professionally prepared, and the chicken is tender and juicy. The bacon adds a unique smoky flavor, which is Sam's distinctive style. The seventh dish is Addison's apple passion fruit Danish pastry. She chose to make the pastry from scratch instead of using ready-made puff pastry. However, the Danish is too soft and poorly textured, and just adding some fruit doesn't showcase her best level. The final dish is Corey's Jamaican-style roasted chicken served with red rice, beans, carrots, and tafari sauce. The seasoning of the side dishes is decent, but the chicken legs are undercooked. Ramsay wouldn't taste such a failed dish. Corey and Caitlin are both regretfully eliminated from the top 10. It's a pity for Caitlin. She could have done better, but was undone by a bad decision that ended her journey in the junior chef competition. Tonight's best performances are by Amaya and Avery. Christina Tosi's mother, Greta, prepared a mystery box for each young chef, containing ingredients that were Christina's favorites as a child, including chicken breast, chocolate chips, strawberries, cauliflower, fruit cereal, and chocolate cereal. The competition time is 60 minutes. The young chefs must use these ingredients to prepare a master-level dish. The winner will gain a significant advantage in the upcoming competition. The top 8 chefs are ready. Let's start today's Mystery Box Challenge. The ingredients for this contest, except for the chicken breast, are all meant for baking. Therefore, Camley has mostly chosen to make desserts. Zach, however, is the only one going against the grain by frying chicken breast accompanied by crispy fried potato strings and mashed potatoes, choosing a different path from the other chefs. Though he has less than 2 years of cooking experience, Zach never lacks a spirit of challenge. Sam is making a chocolate mousse with a touch of mint and strawberry sauce. Addison is making a cereal tart involving custard, strawberries, and chocolate. Addison's first attempt at dessert was not successful, and she almost got eliminated for her dessert in the last competition. Clearly, baking is her weak point, but this hasn't crushed her confidence. This time, Addison is making a comeback and challenging herself with a dessert again. Just then, an accident happens at Sam's station. His cereal suddenly catches fire. Sam freezes, not knowing what to do. Ramsay quickly steps in to help, otherwise he might have burned down the entire competition venue. With just 3.5 minutes left, he can still make another batch. Meanwhile, all contestants enter the final plating stage. Time is up. Next, the judges will select 3 of the most outstanding dishes for evaluation. The first is Addison's chocolate strawberry tart with cereal milk. This dessert is thoughtfully plated and cleverly paired. The chocolate mousse tastes rich, and using cereal for the crust is a wise choice. The chocolate candies and chocolate sauce perfectly enhance the crust's texture. The presentation and ingredients are very professional. The second dish is Zach's pan-seared chicken breast with mashed potatoes, broccoli, and crispy fried potato strings. The chicken is perfectly cooked, the vegetables are well prepared, and the potato strings are crispy. Despite using only 3 ingredients, the flavor is rich, showcasing Zach's excellent cooking skills. The third dish is Sam's chocolate mousse, along with strawberry mint maple syrup and strawberry sauce. The strawberries were cooked in boiling maple syrup, making them exceptionally soft and mushy. The strawberry sauce tastes great. However, the overall pairing is somewhat plain and the appearance is a mess. After deliberation, the judges choose tonight's best-performing young chef. He is Zach. Let's congratulate Zach on winning this competition. He also earns the privilege to decide the groupings for the next round of the contest. After the grouping, the 4 teams of young chefs will embark on an unprecedented culinary relay race. We've all had rujimo before, but this type of rujimo is new to me. It's a street food platter from 5 different countries. It includes aloo samosa with cilantro yogurt raita from India, mozzarella cheese arancini with tomato sauce from Italy, fresh shrimp spring rolls with soy dipping sauce from Vietnam, grilled lamb meatballs with tzatziki sauce from Greece, and beef rujimo with pickled yellow claws from China. This doesn't look like any Chinese dish I've ever had. Over the next 60 minutes, the 4 teams of young chefs will relay to recreate this street food platter. The team that ranks last will be eliminated. The 4 teams are ready. Let's step into tonight's culinary relay race. The key to this competition is that the 2 chefs in each team must communicate well. If communication fails, they might miss some crucial steps. They also need to pay attention to the sequence in which these dishes are prepared to be more efficient. Zach and Kaya are communicating smoothly, with Kaya constantly reminding Zach of the next steps. However, Camille isn't responding to Sam's suggestions at all. The first switch begins. Avery and JJ's team messed up the sequence of preparation. JJ only prepared mashed potatoes and pickled cucumbers first, but they forgot to marinate the beef, which takes longer to flavor, a fundamental mistake that Avery needs to correct immediately. Zach wisely chose to start with the tomato sauce, and their beef has also started marinating, and the vegetables for the spring rolls are already chopped. Zach and Kaya work in perfect harmony. The second switch begins. Amaya and Addison also make a sequencing error. Amaya steamed the buns too early, and with a long time left until the end of the competition, these buns will likely be cold. They should have started with the cold dishes, clearly showing Amaya lacks experience. This technical mistake could likely cost them the competition. On the other side, Camille still ignores Sam, solely focused on her own cooking, with no cooperation between them. Each person only prepares one dish. Neither the beef nor the cucumbers are marinated, and the tomato sauce is not made. By the second switch, they only prepared the samosa ingredients. The third switch begins. Sam and Camille are clearly lagging behind the other teams, continuing to do their own thing regardless of Ramsey's reminders. Addison and Amaya also have a dispute. Addison thinks Amaya uses too many ingredients, but her objections are met with resistance, and the quarrel makes them forget to batter the arancini. The fourth switch begins. Addison and Amaya's argument intensifies, and Amaya completely breaks down. Avery and JJ still haven't made the lamb meatballs, and it's unclear what they have been doing all this time. Kaya also forgot to batter the arancini. The scene is a complete mess. If this were an individual competition, they would all perform excellently, but team competitions always seem to bring out various problems. The final switch takes place, and the teams of young chefs begin the plating phase. The atmosphere on site is tense, and everyone is scrambling. The competition time is up. The 4 teams of young chefs safely complete their respective gourmet platters. Let's now move on to the final judging phase. The first platter is presented by the team of Amaya and Addison. Their lamb is perfectly cooked with a delicious flavor. The samosas taste great, and the arancini are beautifully colored with a crispy texture and well-balanced seasoning. The beef in the ruggiamo is tender and juicy. Although they had some communication issues, fortunately, they adjusted well in time. Their platter is outstandingly completed. The second platter, by Zach and Kaya, clearly missed the fresh shrimp spring rolls. The beef is a bit burnt, but the taste with cucumbers is still acceptable. The lamb meatballs are too bland, and the rice balls lacked batter. They not only missed some items, but also made many mistakes on their platter. It seems that they couldn't escape the curse that the team to choose first always faces big problems. The third platter, made by JJ and Avery, lacks 2 types of sauces. However, the ruggiamo tastes great, and although the lamb meatballs are unevenly cooked, they still taste acceptable. The samosas are beautifully shaped and generously filled. Despite missing 2 sauces, the overall quality of their platter isn't affected. The fourth platter, by Sam and Camille, suffers from a lack of communication during the competition, resulting in missing tomato sauce and the arancini. The meatballs are soft in the middle, still raw inside, and the beef in the ruggiamo is undercooked. Fortunately, the fresh shrimp spring rolls are nearly perfect, and the samosas are well filled. The results are clear. Tonight's best performing team is Addison and Amaya. As for the underperforming teams of Sam and Camille and Zach and Kaya, only one team can stay. The judges finally decide to keep Zach and Kaya, while Sam and Camille are sadly eliminated. Today's competition brings the top 6 young chefs to Ramsey's grand estate, where they will prepare a banquet. The 6 chefs are divided into 2 teams to compete. They face the challenge of cooking 2 Michelin 3-star dishes today. The appetizer is a pan-seared sea bream with colorful beets and a seafood soup, while the main course features venison loin with bacon-wrapped cabbage, potato dumplings, chicken fat mushrooms, and angelica. These dishes may be entirely new to the young chefs, so Ramsey will need to provide some on-site training. They must learn the entire cooking process of these dishes in the shortest time. Over the next 50 minutes, each team must prepare 13 servings of the appetizer. The 20 distinguished guests today are unaware that these meals are prepared by them, assuming instead that they are made by Ramsey himself. Thus, Ramsey's reputation is firmly in the hands of the 2 teams of young chefs. Let's delve into the cooking segment of today's appetizer. As the young chefs just started working, the guests have also begun arriving at Ramsay's estate. The pressure of this competition is truly immense. Not only must the chefs represent Ramsay in their cooking, but learning 2 Michelin dishes in such a short time is an added challenge. Each team's 3 chefs must keep in sync to ensure overall progress. Red Team leader Amaya has assigned different steps to each team member, while Blue Team leader Addison has chosen a different approach, requiring everyone to complete a full dish, which keeps the progress uniform. Clearly, Addison's strategy is the correct one, as the Red Team's incorrect decision led them to a deadlock at the start. Zach was responsible for all the beets and soup, while Amaya had only made 2 seafood garnishes. Avery had just pan-fried 3 pieces of fish. Such pacing could not guarantee that the dishes would be completed at the same time. Ramsay had to urgently stop the Red Team's competition and demanded a strategy change. Avery and Amaya were each responsible for 4 appetizers, and Zach for 5, making exactly 13 servings and ensuring uniform progress. During cooking, they could also share tips and remind each other. After the adjustment, the Red Team's performance improved significantly. On the other hand, the Blue Team encountered some problems. Kaya burned all her fish, severely impacting the Blue Team's progress. She had to hurry to remake several portions, but there was a limited amount of fish available and only minutes left in the competition. They had no room for errors. To make matters worse, JJ seemed lost, constantly asking Addison what ingredients to use for the sauce, and even where the sauce was located. The Blue Team's performance was a complete mess. Ramsay had to step in personally, likely regretting assigning this task to the young chefs. On the other side, our 20 distinguished guests have already taken their seats. Both the Red and Blue Teams have entered the final plating stage. However, at this moment, the Blue Team found themselves short of scallops, lacking a full 8 servings. Moreover, they were also 1 serving short of fish. Ramsay had no choice but to eat the appetizer that was missing fish himself. During the break, the 3 judges tried their best to gather all the feedback from the guests. The final judgment will combine the performances of both teams of young chefs today. This concludes the appetizer segment. Next, there will be a 60-minute cooking session for the main course. Since venison fillet cooks quicker and has almost no fat, it can easily become dry and tough if overcooked. Therefore, both teams need to pay extra attention to controlling the cooking temperature. Right at the beginning of the competition, Ramsay noticed the Blue Team's low morale. He immediately called Addison aside and reminded her that although the appetizer segment went poorly for the Blue Team, the competition was not over yet, and she needed to step up to boost her team's morale. Ramsay's words revitalized Addison, and the Blue Team finally got back on track. They were the first to finish searing the venison and put it in the oven. However, she and Zach disagreed on the roasting temperature, and she overcooked all her side dishes. The immense pressure caused Amaya to become disoriented and unable to focus on cooking. Christina Tosi immediately offered her comfort, hoping Amaya would regain her composure and concentrate on the task at hand. At this time, the Blue Team's venison was already roasted to completion. But just as Ramsay was about to inspect the Blue Team's venison, an accident occurred. Ramsay had only asked JJ to place the venison on the counter, but he accidentally spilled scalding butter and venison onto Ramsay's foot. Ramsay was significantly burned, but he still reminded the young chefs to be careful. Fortunately, his injuries were not serious. However, due to JJ's mistake, the Blue Team had to re-roast 2 servings of venison. At this time, both teams had entered the plating stage simultaneously. Yet, Ramsay discovered another serious problem. Several pieces of the Red Team's venison were overcooked. Fortunately, they still had enough time to rectify this mistake. By now, Amaya had completely shut down, and Ramsay had no choice but to let Zach take over as team leader. This decision greatly relieved Amaya and gave Zach a chance to showcase his leadership skills. He assigned the task of searing the venison to the calm-minded Avery, ensuring the red team's overall progress. Meanwhile, perhaps out of guilt, JJ of the blue team had forgotten to re-roast the venison. Ramsey completely lost his temper this time. After a thorough scolding, the 3 members of the blue team finally came to their senses. JJ felt responsible for putting the team in a disadvantageous position, so he chose to personally slice the venison to recover the situation. It must be said that JJ's slicing of the venison was indeed much better than Amaya's. By now, both teams had entered the final plating stage. Although the competition had its ups and downs, fortunately, all dishes were completed within the stipulated period. The moment that will decide the fate of both teams of young chefs has arrived. All dishes will be presented to the distinguished guests, who will ultimately decide which team advances. 2 members from the losing team will be eliminated. After gathering all feedback from the guests, it is time to reveal the chefs who prepared today's feast. The guests were completely surprised that such delicious food was prepared by children aged 8 to 12. The applause and screams that erupted were a great recognition of the young chefs. So, which team will advance to the semifinals? The answer is our red team. They demonstrated better teamwork and made fewer mistakes during the competition. They helped each other and ultimately won the contest. Addison from the blue team, who performed slightly better, was also kept. Unfortunately, JJ and Kaya were eliminated. Despite being a bit disappointed about being eliminated, I'm happy to have come this far. Throughout the competition, Kaya demonstrated exceptional culinary talent. She remained strong and optimistic even in the face of elimination, without shedding a single tear. As the youngest chef this season, her journey and impressive performance will surely inspire many. Let's all wish her well. At one point, when the judges lifted the covers from the dishes, a bizarre scene unfolded. There were 4 human heads on the plates, smiling at the young chefs. Was today really about cooking live people? Of course not. It was just a joke by the judges and young chefs. They used this method to bring the 4 young chefs' parents to the competition to cheer them on. Then, the judges presented 4 boxes, each with a different colored ribbon, containing different ingredients. The parents would help choose today's competition theme. Amaya received dark chocolate, Avery got strawberries, Zach was given milk chocolate, and Addison received blackberries. Next, they had to use these 4 different ingredients to make the world's most challenging dessert to prepare: custard tart. They had 45 minutes to cook. The winning young chef would gain a mysterious advantage in the next round. The top 4 chefs were ready to go. Let's start today's custard tart challenge. The key to a good custard tart is to prioritize making the custard. First, separate the egg yolks completely, then add hot milk and cornstarch, stirring continuously. Next, start melting the chocolate and making the jam. Once the filling is ready, begin whisking the egg whites. They need to be stirred until glossy, but be careful not to overdo it. The custard tart must be baked in a precisely controlled oven for exactly the right amount of time, not a minute more nor less. This presents an unprecedented challenge in baking skills and time management for the young chefs. In 2 minutes, they will put the custard tarts in the oven. After that, it will be impossible to make any changes. Addison's custard tart turned out perfectly and looked very fluffy. Avery was also praying for her custard tart to bake quickly. Only Zach's custard tart was less than ideal, as one of them cracked and leaked onto the surface of the cup. When the competition time ended, the young chef's creations were all ready. After sprinkling a little icing sugar, they each presented their dishes to the judges. Next, the 3 judges would taste each dish one by one. After tasting, the judges already had an answer in mind. The winner of the first contest was Addison. Next, she would exercise the winner's privilege. 3 judges gave Addison 4 types of pork ingredients: pork belly, pork tenderloin, pork ribs, and pig ears. All Addison had to do was place these 4 ingredients on plates with the portraits of 4 people. thus completing the allocation task. So, who would be the unlucky one to get the pig ears? The moment Zach stepped into the pantry, he was stunned because he was that unlucky one. Amaya got the tenderloin, Avery received the pork belly, and Addison kept the ribs for herself. Next, they would use the ingredients they received to cook a master-level dish. The outcome of this contest would determine which two young chefs could enter the finals, so they had to take it seriously. Addison thought Zach was her biggest competitor, so she gave him the most challenging pig ears. However, Zach was not frightened. He first stewed the pig ears in a pot, then fried them to ensure a crispy texture, and finally paired them with a chicory salad made with bishop's weed. This dish sounds good, but is not a traditional main course. However, the fact that Zach thought of cooking pig ears this way was impressive. Addison had easily given away the simpler tenderloin and pork belly to others, but unexpectedly chose the ribs because she liked the juicy taste of ribs and the many ways they could be paired. This time, she chose to make cola-glazed ribs with a strawberry salad and a potato salad. The combination of one dish with two salads was quite creative. With minutes left in the competition, the aroma of Amaya's onion and applesauce was overwhelming. She was using this sauce to complement the pan-seared tenderloin. The tenderloin was encased in a spice mix of za'atar and rosehip, which fully brought out its aroma. It looked quite good, but she definitely needed to keep an eye on the cooking time. Avery was using a pressure cooker to cook pork belly with carrots, celery, and onions. She planned to pair it with sweet potato mash, along with fried beetroot and sautéed Brussels sprouts. In the final 2 minutes, when Amaya cut into the tenderloin, she was shocked to find it was still raw inside. She then put the tenderloin back in the oven, although this was completely unnecessary. All she needed to do was let it rest for a while to allow the external heat to gradually penetrate inside. Her current method would only make the exterior of the meat tough, with no improvement in the internal doneness. In the final 60 seconds, the 4 top young chefs began plating with all their might. The competition time is up. Now comes the moment that will decide their fate. After 60 minutes of intense cooking, the semi-final round has come to an end. The 4 exquisite dishes before them are key to these young chefs advancing to the finals. So, which 2 will make it to the finals? The first dish is Addison's cola-glazed ribs paired with a summer strawberry salad and potato salad. The plating of the ribs was not very elegant, and the meat had separated from the bones. However, the taste was outstanding, tender, and rich in collagen. Cooking the meat with cola was innovative, and the addition of spices enhanced the overall flavor. Addison impressed everyone once again. The second dish came from Zach, a chicory salad paired with fried pig's ears. The cooked pig's ears should have been crispy, but Zach's were chewy like rubber, and the skin and cartilage had separated. However, the overall seasoning was excellent, and the combination of ingredients was very reasonable. Ramsay thought that despite some errors, Zach still had a good chance of advancing, so it all depended on the next 2 chefs' performances. The third dish was Avery's pork belly with sweet potato mash, fried beetroot, and sautéed Brussels sprouts. The dish's appearance and color were very beautiful. Christina Tosi considered it the most delicious dish she had tasted there. The pork belly was cooked perfectly, with evenly distributed fat covering the surface of the meat. The sweet potato added a rustic sweetness, and the fried beetroot perfectly topped off this culinary delight. This was Avery's best work on this stage. The last dish was Amaya's pan-seared pork tenderloin paired with mushrooms, farro, and green applesauce. She received the best ingredients tonight but performed less impressively because she cut it too thick, resulting in undercooked pork tenderloin. The resting time must be as long as the cooking time for the tenderloin to be properly cooked. However, Amaya was very skilled at using spices, and the taste of the pork tenderloin was quite good. The mushrooms and applesauce were also delicious. Thus, the first chef to advance to the finals tonight was naturally Avery. Addison, capable of being her opponent, also secured a spot in the finals. Congratulations to Addison and Avery for earning their tickets to the finals. This competition is one for the history books. Tonight, two 9-year-old prodigies, Addison from Illinois, a master chef with absolute dominance in the kitchen, and Avery from Louisiana, who perfected Southern cuisine, will face off on this stage. The two young chefs need to prepare an appetizer, a main course, and a dessert within 90 minutes. They are now just 3 dishes away from the championship trophy and the ultimate cash prize. Who will be the first female champion, Addison or Avery? Let's step into the grand finale of the 4th season of the Junior Culinary Masters. Addison and Avery also want to prove through this competition that girls are not inferior to boys in cooking. Let's first take a look at the menu prepared by the two young chefs tonight. Avery's appetizer is cream of asparagus soup with smoked oysters. The main course is lobster meat and crayfish jambalaya, and the dessert is a strawberry rhubarb cake. Avery continues to embrace the characteristics of the Southern River region in her menu, but she has modified her choice of ingredients and overall cooking methods. This is key to whether she can win the competition. Meanwhile, Addison's appetizer is sock marinated shrimp paired with seaweed and sea asparagus salad. The main course is miso cod with shiitake mushrooms and coconut ginger soup, and the dessert is green tea creme brulee with caramelized plums. She focuses on Asian flavors. This menu is rich in taste and very bold. Addison truly embraces the spirit of culinary challenge. The styles of the two menus are starkly different. How will the two young chefs perform? Avery once again plays to her strengths by cooking Southern dishes, though she has made modifications and extensions to the original recipes. Using a soup as an appetizer is quite rare, but she believes that smoked oysters go well with Creole fried bread. The oysters need to be baked first and then finished with a smoking gun to enhance the flavor. However, careful attention must be paid to the cooking time, as overcooking can alter the texture and taste. For the main dish, she once again presents a lobster jambalaya, this time adding Boston lobster in addition to the crayfish, making her dish more complex and refined for the finals. Addison, on the other hand, chooses a completely different style. This time, she challenges herself with Asian dishes, marinating peony shrimp in sake and pairing it with seaweed and sea asparagus. The addition of sour plums and shichimi togarashi rice makes this appetizer richer. While cooking the peony shrimp, she adds some yuzu for flavor enhancement, a novel and creative approach. In addition to miso cod for the main dish, she also chooses bok choy and shiitake mushrooms as side dishes, topped with a thick, ginger-flavored coconut soup. This menu sounds quite appealing, but blending so many flavors will consume a lot of time, so Addison must work against the clock. During the competition, Addison accidentally cuts her finger, and medical staff immediately tend to her wound. Fortunately, her injury is not severe, and after quick treatment, she rejoins the competition. However, this incident causes her condition to slip. Her pudding needs to be quickly placed in the refrigerator to set, or she will struggle to complete her dessert by the end of the competition. Avery, on the other hand, has a smoother experience. Her pastries are already baked, and she just needs to mix sugar and water into syrup and pour it over the pastries. In the final 5 minutes, both chefs fully engage in the final seasoning and plating. Addison's miso cod is the first to be plated, followed closely by Avery with her asparagus soup. As the final 2 desserts are plated, both chefs manage to complete their 3-course meals just in the nick of time. Next, the 3 judges will individually evaluate their dishes, starting with Addison's sake marinated shrimp paired with seaweed and sea asparagus salad, as well as caramelized sour plums and shichimi togarashi rice. The cooking of the peony shrimp is perfect. The marinade includes some mint, giving the shrimp a refreshing aroma. The saltiness of the sea asparagus is just right, and the spiciness of the shichimi togarashi is well balanced. The dish appears light, but is rich in taste and well seasoned. Next is Avery's cream of asparagus soup paired with smoked oysters, sour cream, and Creole fried bread crisps. The judges did not expect Avery's appetizer to be a soup, as soups usually appear after the appetizer in a meal. Avery took a big risk with this choice. Fortunately, her oysters are cooked just right, and the hint of smoky flavor makes the soup even more flavorful. The sour cream tastes great, much like the natural aroma of the asparagus, and it is not greasy or heavy. The bread crisps have a slight spiciness, which is very tasty. However, there was a problem. Ramsay found that the oysters seemed to be overcooked, with the texture beginning to harden. Despite this, the overall seasoning of the soup is excellent, and the smoked oysters method received unanimous praise from the judges. In the appetizer performance, Addison slightly outshines Avery. Next up is the main course judging segment. First, Avery presents a dish of lobster and crayfish etouffee served with crispy fried okra. This time, Avery has elevated the crayfish etouffee. The lobster is cooked perfectly, cutting as smoothly as butter. Upon tasting, the burst of Creole seasoning is immediate. The lobster is flavorful without being overly greasy. The overall seasoning is well balanced with precise amounts of salt and pepper. The sauce is refreshing, highlighting the flavors of the crayfish and spices. Avery has truly perfected this etouffee dish. Next, Addison presents a miso marinated codfish, served with rapeseed, shiitake mushrooms, and a coconut ginger broth. Instead of pan frying, she opts for poaching the fish. This method risks the fish becoming too firm, but Addison's control over the cooking temperature is precise. The fish is translucent and retains maximum moisture. The rice is also delicious with a rich and smooth sauce. Rather than blanching the rapeseed, it is roasted, which brings out a captivating charred flavor throughout the otherwise simple vegetable. Addison consistently surprises, and this time is no exception. The two young chefs are neck and neck in their main course performances. Now, moving on to the final two dessert judging segments. Addison presents a green tea cream pudding served with cookie crumbs and caramelized plums. The amount of green tea powder in the pudding is just right, providing a silky texture and a rich flavor. The balance between the creamy green tea and the overall sweetness is perfect. However, Ramsay finds the presentation of this dessert disappointing, lacking in visual appeal, and believes the excessive amount of cookie crumbs makes the pudding feel too dry. This opinion is immediately contested by Christina Tosi, who argues that while the appearance may not be perfect, the proportions of the ingredients are appropriate. The atmosphere becomes very tense as the judges disagree on this dessert. Next, Avery presents a strawberry sponge cake paired with orange-flavored cream. The cake is exceptionally fluffy and soft inside. The orange cream has a perfect balance of sweetness and acidity, complementing the rich flavor of the strawberry sauce. The overall appearance is beautiful, and the taste is well balanced. With that, the judging phase of the fourth season finale of Junior MasterChef concludes, and it's time to announce the results. The winner of the fourth season of Junior MasterChef is Addison. After a series of competitions, Addison, with her exceptional culinary talent, has overcome all challenges to claim the title of Junior MasterChef. She becomes the first female champion following Alexander and Logan, proving that girls are just as capable in cooking as boys. Avery also performed admirably, advancing and refining Southern cuisine with her efforts. She is expected to continue shining on her culinary path in the future. Thus, the fourth season of Junior MasterChef finally comes to a close. Thank you all for your continued support.